All right, I'll call tonight's meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Jerry, will you take roll call, please?
Member Seamers? Member Manson?
Present.
Member Haddock?
Present.
Member Eastwood?
Present.
Member Kesselman?
Present.
Chairman Harris?
Present.
Director Kennedy and the other staff are present. We are missing Member Hattishell, Member Sapola, and Member Lewis.
Thank you, Jerry. I'll accept the motion to adopt tonight's agenda as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, anybody have anything to change or add tonight? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Unanimous. I'll call for a motion to accept the minutes from the July 22nd, 2014 meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, first and a second. Any changes? Yes, sir.
I do have one. On the second page, under Grounds Committee, right in the center, I think my name is listed as Jim Manson. It should be Jim Haddock.
It's page 4. It's actually page 4.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Second page of the minutes.
Also, remove me from the Grounds and Rec Committee, please. Any other changes? All right, I have it a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Two, yeah. Okay. Unanimous, thank you. Do we have any public comment this evening? No. I see glassy eyes staring back, so I'm going to take that as a no. Committee reports. Mr. Eastwood, something on disc golf?
Yep, we have a disc golf course, at least the front nine. I think the last time we met, we actually just had the sleeves installed. Since then, we've actually got the baskets in place. They've got flags with numbers. We've got 4x4 posts that mark the tee pad locations. We have maps online. We've gotten lots of visitors, lots of positive comments, and it's gotten lots of play in the last month. So we'd also like to thank staff. We did a lot of tree trimming around, cleaning up a lot of areas. It looks really nice out there. So everything's going well.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Eastwood? Nope. Mr. Manson, do you have something to report from the Rec Committee?
Yes, on the Rec Committee, what we met, what we were trying to do is look at area programs, see what they're offering, see how competitive we can be. And I asked staff's going to research that, plus new revenue streams in order to see if we can get ourselves on a good paying fee basis that'll contribute to the increase in benefit of the rec program. But that's all being subject to research, and hopefully by the next month's meeting, we will have something definitive to give.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Mr. Haddock, Grounds Committee?
Yes, thanks. We did meet on the 18th, and most of the business, a lot of the new business that's on tonight's agenda was covered. One of the items was we did discuss the Hawk Ridge Park Phase 1 plan, and I think I had typed some notes up ahead of time. I think we're excited to move forward with that, and I think that's one of the things that staff has asked us to act on tonight. The memo that I noted in the agenda is accurate in terms of priorities. I think I'll ask the other committee members if I made a mistake, but In order of priority, trail around Johnston Lake, park signage, restroom facility, shelter. 4 was children's natural play area. 5 was handicapped accessible fishing dock. And really, I think the only thing that was really clear from that was the dog park seemed to be the lowest priority item. And I guess I'll just say I think the staff is ready to move forward with all items except the dog park, but I'll leave that for later. We did also cover the need for repairs to the tennis courts. I think we're not as excited about the need for the repairs, but we can see that that's something that's necessary. And I think one of the things that was brought up by staff was that the schools, in fact, are using those courts. So I think we do have an extra obligation, perhaps, to keep those in good repair. And I think that's worth our effort. There's also another item on the agenda tonight that I don't remember covering in terms of the farmers market shelter, and I don't know if I just missed it in my notes or not. Did we talk about that night, Michelle? The farmers market pavilion?
Not that I recall.
Okay, all right. Anyway, I'm in favor of it, but we can talk about that later. And then lastly, I put Steve Rulo did give us a nice review of the Raymore's groundskeeping operation. Went over they maintain 235 of the 300 total park areas and how many members of his staff. And then we did review the Raymore Parks and Rec Park Maintenance Management Plan during the meeting. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? All right, thank you. Let's move on to Recreation Superintendent Staff Reports. In Mr. McLean's absence, it's my understanding Ms. Jerry Lynn Keith is going to give that report.
Sorry about that. Basically, he included most everything that's going on. It's just been very busy with getting 4 leagues up and running. We're doing boom, 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 one after the other, coaches meetings, uniform orders, equipment orders. Getting all that going is making it really hopping at the office. There are some leagues that are finishing up. The summer ones are starting to wind down. The adult softball is winding down. The main thing that we did wind up with is a summer camp report. For some of the new members, our summer camp's been going for several years, since 2006. We originally started out with about 40 kids, around 10 counselors. This summer, we were down a couple of personnel, but we did have 129 campers registered. We did a little comparison in the past. Our revenues are up, even though our numbers were down, so to speak. We were down about 10 campers instead of last year, but our revenue per camper was up. So, for example, per camper, we earned $199, whereas this year we earned $233 per camper. So we did quite an extensive work on trying to cut some cost. We cut off 3 or 4 major weekly field trips that we do. We have 10 weeks of camp, and it's our goal to make sure that we go quite a bit because we're limited without a pool like a lot of communities have for their access. We don't have that, so we try to do major field trips. We offset some of that in our programming because we will take advantage of Memorial Park. Our kids, so instead of going on a big field trip that week, our big trip will be walk to Memorial Park, spend the day, we get out the water hoses, we build sandcastles, we have a pizza party, so we try to make a big use of what we already have there. Another item that we try to put in place of is a part of a theme thing as well, is we have a camp out day where we take them all of them back to the East Field or Moon Valley. We have a fire, Steve's guys build a fire for us. We build little tents and we call it our camp out day, and we roast s'mores and other things back there. So we try to take advantage of some things to cut the cost and then take advantage of a lot of resources that we have at Recreation Park. So we cut back on some of that. That also cut back on our busing, obviously, because that's a huge expense for us. So we did do some things that really cut back on our expenses, which helped offset, and so we actually made a little bit more on that, even though technically someone would say that we didn't make as much money and we didn't have as many people there, but that's okay. Anything else?
Awesome, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Keith? Thank you very much. Mr. Rulo?
I also put in a written report in there, just wanted to hit on a couple things. The parks crew did get out and mow all the native areas. It'll be the last time that they're mowed for the year. Now they'll grow back up, go to seed. The seeds will be dropped, and we'll come back in probably the first of or late January, something like that, and hit them again, and then that will make sure all the seeds get down. The other thing that I wanted to tell you, I just got out of a meeting right before we came up here with David Wickham. David Wickham is part of Boy Scout Troop 1427. They participated with us last year for a Christmas tree recycling. They collected donations for their troop. Basically, all we did was put up a fence that would hold the trees for a 4 or 5 hour period on a Saturday. Their troop came in, dropped the trees. The actual Boy Scouts cut off all the limbs from the trunks with non-motorized saws, and they took they took all the trunks back somewhere, and they were using all that wood for their campouts throughout the year. They want to do it again this year. I had asked them to come early so we can try to help get this advertised out there a little bit. So we're looking at December 27th on that Saturday, trying to do the same thing from 9 to 2. And he's going to get back with me and make sure all this stuff is secure dates and secure times, and then we're going to start promoting it. I think it's a great partnership, easy in and easy out. And then we mulch all the branches up, and we use them for our mulch pile. Other than that, I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions? Hi, sir. I have one question for you. One of your items said all game fields have been aerated and will be seeded soon. Does that include soccer fields?
Yes, it does.
And you go ahead and seed them, even though they'll play because we're playing on them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Won't affect that?
We'll seed them here. You usually want to seed the second week of September. If we could get a decent rain this weekend, then we may go ahead and put the seed down a little early.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you. First of all, I'd kind of like to congratulate Jerry and the great job she did with summer camp this year. Our numbers were good. They were consistent. We actually made more money per camper than what we've done previously. Overall, we did not make as much revenue, like she said, but we did save quite a bit on the expenditure side. So the bottom line is, for each camper we had, we actually made more money, and I think the kids really enjoyed the staff and the camp this year and felt that it was a very good experience for most of them. Lots of good compliments from the parents for the camp, and that's all due to Jerry's hard work and the camp staff. So besides that, we have a new staff member that is going to be start working here on Wednesday, September 3rd. She is currently, well, she was previously employed as an intern for the city of Raymore. She is filling in the absence of a city employee right now in the utility department. And Alexis Case will be joining us, like I said, on September 3rd, and she will be working half days in the front office area of our administrative offices, and think she's going to be a great fit, and we really look forward to having her on board. So hopefully you all stop in and meet Alexis. She's really a very smart, very fun, very bubbly type person, so I think it's going to be a great person to have out front. We had a meeting today with Vireo. Vireo is the consultant that is doing the Citywide Trails Master Plan. They met with staff again today to present some of the work that they have done this far. I think we gave them enough direction that they will be able to just about complete the Citywide Trails Master Plan, and they will be presenting it to the Park Board in our regular scheduled September meeting. So I look forward to seeing what they're going to present us on trails, both what we have and what we may have in the future. The second reading passed for the Eagle Glen Trail renovation at Monday's City Council meeting. I talked to Mr. Krass today, and he informed me that they would probably be starting on that project somewhere in the middle of September to the end of September. Just to remind you, that is to replace the existing asphalt trail with an 8-foot concrete trail, just about in the same location that the existing trail is located. There will be some nice additions as far as rain gardens and rerouting of drainage over the trail, so we don't have that issue that we've had previously. So that should be a really good project. Look forward to seeing it coming online here in the middle, about the middle to end of September. Other than that, Rainmore Festival just right around the corner. I know Steve's staff's been working really hard trying to get Memorial Park in shape, looking good for all the people that will be out for that event. I think Eric's report on the disc golf, I think he even understated it a little bit. I've been amazed at the usage. I will sit corrected, Eric. You told me it would be this way, and I think it's even more than what you said. So it's great to see.
Yeah, I meet someone new every time I'm out there, which I'm always surprised. So I'm out there a lot, and I see someone new every time.
Okay.
So.
And finally, John McLean is right now attending Director's School for the National Recreation Park Association. This is in Oglebay, West Virginia. John will be there all week. I went to this program a long time ago, and I thought it was very, very beneficial. I'm sure he will come back with a lot of good connections, very educated in the Parks and Recreation field and where the directions are going right now. So I'll be excited to talk to him and to see what he brings back from Director School and integrate some of the ideas and great programs into our programs. Any questions that the board might have, I'm available to answer.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions? No?
Thank you.
All right, seeing we have no unfinished business, we'll move on to new business. The first item is Hawk Ridge Park Phase 1 discussion that everybody, Jim alluded to it earlier, the items, the order of, the grounds committee came up with a priority order. I guess we need to talk about that. Do we like that order? Do we think it's good? Does anybody want to see anything changed? If it's in your packet, page 10 is where it starts, and then 12 and 13 are the costs included on those items, and what that each item includes. I, for one, can say I don't like dog park being number 6, but that's me, because I think it's been a hot topic for a couple of years, and I think it's would be a highly used function. But I do understand it's one of our highest cost items also. Anything else? Not the only one speaking?
Are you,
Yes, sir. It's open discussion.
okay, just discussion. Yeah, and I guess just to go back to, alluded to it, I almost felt like there was really just 2 priorities. There was the first 5, and then there was dog park. And I think what came from it, and I think Michelle's the only other, well, you were at the meeting as well, the grounds committee meeting as well, but,
Me?
yeah, you were there.
Oh, I walked in just the last few minutes.
You were late, but,
I only came for the last few minutes.
ultimately, I think that what I got from the meeting was that it sounds like we've made an investment in a piece of property 5-6 years ago, and we haven't done a lot with it, and it's time to move forward. And I think that, all those items are great. I think we tried to pick one. Maybe people just conceded that the dog park was something that maybe had recently been attempted and it didn't work, and maybe they were ready to go somewhere else to something else at this point. So I'm certainly am in favor, and I think that the grounds committee was in favor of moving forward full steam ahead with the other 5. But certainly there can be some discussion.
I guess just, sir, if I could, the list that staff compiled, we would kind of like some direction, as when I say we, I mean staff, as far as what some of the priorities are. Is the trail the number one facility that we would like to see? We've talked about the children's natural play area, of developing this area. It's up by the existing parking area now. A handicap accessible fishing dock. Fishing obviously is very popular out at this facility right now. And do we want to try to enhance that by putting in this floating type handicap accessible dock? Park signage, I think, I still am amazed by the number of people when I say Hawk Ridge Park and they say, where's that? You know, they may have heard of it, but they have no idea. So not only signage possibly in the park, but maybe a directional sign along 58 Highway that tells people where to turn on Johnston Drive to get to the park area. And finally, a restroom shelter. Obviously, this is a necessity in any park at some point if you're going to have a lot of people. And I think this park eventually will see a lot of people when we start building amenities. And then the dog park. I think we could probably spend the rest of the evening just talking about the dog park if we wanted to. But what we're looking for this evening is some direction from the board as to what you would like staff to pursue as far as developing plans, getting some good solid numbers to bring back to you, and hopefully putting out some of these items either for bid or parts of these projects for bid, so we do have something to show when spring rolls around in 2015. There is something out there in this park that we can point to show that this has been done over the winter months and now is ready for the residents of Raymore to use. So that's kind of what we're looking for at this point, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
The dog park. If you know me, you know I wanted a dog park years ago. But with more bang for the buck and for the more use for people, I thought items 1 through 5 were more doable, and the dog park we could still keep working on. It doesn't mean I don't want it or think it's not important, but I think just items 1 through 5 with that land and with the money we have, more bang for the buck right now, and the dog park will figure out.
Steve asked me to remind everybody, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It's called Phase 1, but this is over a 2 to 3 year period. Obviously, we do not have enough money in our funds, our capital improvement funds, the park fund, to do all of these items. So we are going to have to pick and choose and then probably put in some of these items into our long-range CIP and have it developed out as more funds become available. So you might kind of keep that in mind too.
Can I ask how much funds do we have to do any of this? And this isn't, this is in the 25th, we're in the 2014 fiscal year now.
Yes, sir.
Till November, then we turn to the 2015, right?
Yes.
Do we have any in the 2015 for Hawk Ridge Park?
We had not specifically designated anything in the 2015 CIP for Hawk Ridge Park.
So we haven't designated anything in the 2015 CIP for Hawk Ridge Park?
No, if you remember, the two items are another baseball field, $75,000, and then renovation of the basketball court in Recreation Park.
Okay. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, on the trail around Johnson Lake, I notice you have a bridge going across southwest corner of Johnson Lake. Is there anything that's going to have to be addressed as far as a riprap for the lake?
If it'd be okay, I'd like to have, Steve and I went out today and took a look at that, and if be okay, I'd kind of like to have him address what we kind of talked about today for the short term and possibly the long term, and it'll kind of talk about your question too.
Okay.
What we talked about in the grounds committee last week, was basically putting an aggregate AV3 trail around Johnston Lake. Be 8 to 10 foot wide, riprap, no, I do not believe there's two ways to look at it. Yes, we could go in and riprap the whole thing, and that's going to cost more money than we're going to have in a long time. Or we can move it off the water a little bit, and then there's plenty of room. There's one tight spot right where the inlet from the street inlet comes in. I think there's enough room that we can get through there and go on around. Basically, that's where that's what the trail that we discussed today. It would go around, come across the dam, and it would just be an aggregate trail. Saying that in the future, if money ever became available, we could always go back in and asphalt it, you know, because that'd be the perfect base then. Those numbers are fairly accurate there. They were taken from one of the jobs that is going on currently, the Fox Ridge Trail over there that Public Works is part of right now. That's kind of where we're looking. Nothing real exciting, but it is a trail for people to go ahead and walk around. That it's a little over half a mile. It's 3,200 feet long, so it's just over a half mile. And then there's all kinds of other natural trails that we mow out there, going all along the perimeter. About 3/4 of the park, we mow a perimeter trail, just so people that want to get out and walk their dogs in the brush and everything.
Well, my only question on that was basically because at some point we were thinking about the lake having, maybe requiring it to address any potential, I won't say leakage because that's not the case, but basically to prevent any kind of overflow or loss of water. And but the trail itself, no. If that's just addressing it, moving it a few feet, so it is not requiring shoring up any part of the lake shore, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it actually, John and I were looking at it today, and you could actually come 20 feet off that trail, and you'd still have a lot of room between the trail and the homeowner. So, I mean, and then you'd have space for the people who are fishing that wouldn't interfere while they're casting on people walking the trail, stuff like that. So, I think there's plenty of room. There's just one tight spot.
Okay.
You are correct, sir, that our original plan, we talked about armoring the side of the lake closest to the residences. And this was for twofold, one for aesthetics, but also we do have a little problem with erosion in a couple places along the lakefront there. And we do not want to see that continue to eat away at the bank area. So that was one of the reasons we wanted to put the trail right on the edge of the lake. But it's cost prohibitive at this time. It would take everything we have and then some to pour a concrete trail and armor that along the lakefront there to do that. So Steve and I kind of looked at this as an alternative that would be a lot more budget conscious and still provide an excellent trail path for people to use around the lake.
Yeah, you asking the park board to give some direction and guidance, so I'll just give you my own personal feedback. Seems like these are the natural sort of what would make sense, so I agree with the sort of ranking. I do, after you talked about the park signage, I do think a sign on 58 is a great idea to give visibility to that park. I also want to echo Jim's comments about, we made an investment in Hawk Ridge, and I think it's time that we actually implement something into that park. And I think, obviously, the trail is going to be key there, at least get us started. So that's all I wanted to say. All right.
Brian, I had a question
Thanks,
for
sir.
John.
Yes, sir.
The intent of Hawk Ridge was to maintain it as a natural area, and I think everybody agrees that the natural emphasis that we're looking at meets that. Would the failure to do that affect any access to the Missouri CAPS agreement? I know they have a set of guidelines we must meet. If we deviate from the natural setting, would that endanger any CAPS participation?
To answer your question, anything that we do, we would definitely contact MDF, Missouri Department of Conservation, and talk to them directly. But from what I get from the CAPS agreement, it is specifically the lake and the lake only. And it would be anything that we would do that would modify the lake. So for example, if we decide that a handicap accessible fishing dock is a priority, we would definitely work with them if we would try to build an access point into the lake, which was designed in the master plan done by the Clark Henderson Partners, we would definitely contact them to get their opinion, their approval, whatever we would necessarily need for that part of the project.
Okay, I was concerned about it because the handicap access was one of the priorities that as I saw it then, okay.
Yes, sir. He needs direction.
What Mr. Fearborn was nice enough to remind me that if we can get some type of direction, staff would like to formulate a formal plan, possibly bring a budget amendment to the park board at a fairly, probably not next meeting, but in the next couple of meetings, that addresses any specific improvement that we have, and then designate funds from our park sales tax fund for whatever projects you deem that we want to pursue. I know this is kind of straying a little bit from our overall thing, but we do have other projects that need attention possibly, and the one that comes to mind first and foremost is the farmers market area. So far in the proposed 2015 budget, the city has designated $150,000 from the city capital improvement fund to be spent at the farmers market. I'm hoping that will continue to stay in that budget allocation. But if it does not, staff will be coming to the park board requesting that $150,000 be designated to that project. We're hoping that it doesn't come to that, but we feel that is as much of a priority as anything we have. I would not want to do just half of phase one of the farmers market area. I think that would not reflect well upon us as a city or a park board.
Yes, sir.
So basically what you'd want to work up is, let's say with the trail, the construction of the children's natural play area, and the handicap accessible fishing dock. In that priority, we would see how it fits into the budget currently and how if it's attainable. If one or two or all three of those could be done, fine, but basically I think what you're really looking for is which one to start with first, and then second and third, and try to see which ones we can complete. Personally, I think the trails would be the first priority.
If I could expand, maybe the park signage would probably be pretty important.
Well, I actually saw it, of course, the signage is necessary. I'd probably have a hard time finding it without it.
You're looking at, sir, those 4 items right at $180,000. 50, 165.
180.
Yeah.
Well,
180,000.
650.
Okay. So with that in mind, I guess if we want to make an impact, this is what I recommend, is those 4 items. I know that's taking a lot from our park sales tax fund, but $180,000 and making a pretty large impact in this park to me is exactly where I think we should be going.
If I could so venture an opinion, I'd love to make one because I'm full of them. I really hesitate with the children's natural play area, and I really hesitate with a restroom and shelter at this point. I like the trail. I like the fishing dock, especially if we can get the MDC grant. Obviously the signage, which is a no-brainer at $1,500. Again, I go back to a dog park. I think it's going to be more utilized than the other events, although the shelter can be rented. With the shelter comes the restroom. I don't know if you need the restroom with the dog park or a trail or the fishing dock myself. Those would be my priorities. I don't know, to be honest, I don't know what we're going to get for a natural play area for only $50,000. I don't know how big it's going to be. I know we spent, I think we spent twice that at Ward Park, didn't we?
We spent 100,000 out at Ward Park, but that came with that 1,300-foot trail.
Oh, that was part of it?
Yeah.
That's my hesitation. I mean, without really knowing what the natural player is, I can't really say I'm on board, but I gotta think a dog park's gonna have a bigger use. I really do. It's a lot more money, but if money's the issue, we will have to find the money. Doing quick numbers, we've got two $75,000 CIP items that are on for 2 ball fields. We also have reserve funds we could dip into. They keep us above our reserve level, but, you know, we've got some money there. I took 200,000 out of reserve, two $75,000 ball fields. We come up with $350,000. If I take the lake and the fishing dock and the dog park, we only come up to 315. So we got some to play. And that doesn't include the extra 25 we get back, assuming MDC, we were approved that grant. But I'm just spitballing. That's my thoughts on this. Right or wrong, that's my opinion. Now, I don't know what the 200,000 for the dog park consists of either. Maybe I got bigger envisions of what it would be
Better
than
include
what they're
parking.
proposing.
You know, the problem is the infrastructure then. Are you gonna have adequate parking for that? And where is, and a lot depends on the location of that park and where, and dog park and where it is, how accessible it is from vehicle to that location. We can't just build a dog park, put a watering system in there, underground watering system, and then turn around and expect people to park over in,
Well, no, I agree. I think the dog park we're talking about is on the south edge of the lake, and it included the parking, right? Didn't this estimate parking where the plan was at? No?
No.
$200,000 for dog park, but it didn't include what our master plan showed?
This says that it would require additional parking, both locations would require additional parking. So I'm not visualizing it, I too agree, my name is Janissa Fuller. And I too agree that the dog park is gonna make a big impact on the community, just from the people that I've talked to and things, and I don't know how that money's put together. I have to plead ignorance there. But the dog park, depending on its location, is gonna need the parking, and if that's including the existing parking that's there, utilizing that, and what the distance is, but this says on here, it would require additional parking, and I'm assuming that's not in the estimated cost.
I don't, under those circumstances, considering the initial cost on that, Brian, I would probably say that that's gonna make it, I'd rather shoot for the people side of it, nothing against the canine friends. But the point is that we'd probably be sinking so much into that one thing, and you'll have just a dog park, no trails, no restrooms, because the owners are gonna have to do something too. Don't think the dogs don't do something and suggest the same thing. They're gonna need restrooms if they're out there for any extended period of time. So that would have to be a facility built. In the meantime, we're not building the dock, we're not utilizing the trail. So most of that park area is gonna be underutilized. I mean, I'd like to see it all, but if it comes down to a priority and putting things in rank, I would probably say right now, I would go with definitely the trail and get the dock in there. That would be helpful. I'd love to see the dog park, but if it's gonna have to the infrastructure's gonna have to be created for designated parking with roadway, because we may have to put a roadway in there. Now you're really talking about some additional funds. Because I don't believe that street on the east side is gonna be in anytime soon.
Okay. Well, he wants to come up with a list. Do you want to come up with a list of the priorities?
We just need a little direction. I mean, we could do 1, 2, 3 of these and do more possibly at a later time. Like I said, I really see this whole project, everything that's been identified here, Brian, has been identified in the master plan for this park, okay? Now, obviously, everything's not included in that master plan, but these are the things that when we talk to the public, we talk to the park board, and we even some of the comments from the council were the highest priority. And with Jim's leadership in the grounds committee, that was reinforced, that these are the things that they felt would probably be the priority for this park. Now, I did not put them in any specific order. And I really agree with Ms. Pola that the dog park is a great thing. We need it, and I think we ought to ask the public to help us pay for this, the council to pay for this. I don't know. But if we do that one thing, that's all we're gonna get, I'm afraid.
Do we have an idea what parking would cost?
Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but the parking lot that was built up there was $40,000.
You talking about the one at Talk Ridge now?
Yes,
I believe that was $40,000. And we had the millings were from us though, so the base, you'd have to add a little bit more from that because we had supplied the base.
I don't want to speak because I'm upset. If I'm going to be honest, I really don't. I mean, I don't mind putting a trail around Johnston Lake, but we've got 10 miles of trails already in the city, and now we're building one around a lake. And it's not really, even though it's a large piece of property, it's not, I wouldn't call it a community park. I still think it's a neighborhood park. We don't have a parking lot there like we have at our other parks of that size. I struggle with that.
I would suggest that the emphasis was that the lake is the key to the whole park, no matter what we do. And I think everything should lead from the park outward. There's a lot of limitations, unknowns now, but don't forget, someday, we don't know when, Sunset's gonna go through, Creekmore's gonna come south, Madison Valley's gonna go west, and that development is gonna eventually, I think, within the next 10 or 15 years, abut that park very closely. So you're gonna get a lot more traffic than we see right now. But the lake is the key, and we should build outward, in my opinion.
I guess with that thinking, I would do, I'm interested in the trail and the dock and the signage today.
Yeah, people have been fishing that lake under some pretty adverse conditions for years.
That's less than 120 grand
Right.
for those three things.
Well, I agree with that.
I agree as well, but I'll ask a question of you, Mr. Kennedy. Is it reasonable to leave out a restroom facility for very much longer if we,
Well, yeah, good point.
I'm just saying that we're gonna get a lot of crowd, there's gonna be people are gonna do what people are gonna do if you don't give them a better place. And if the community's already, if the houses are around there, I just don't wanna cause a problem.
Steve and I, when we were out there today, we kind of addressed that. There's some semi-permanent things you can do with a portable restroom, porta-john, I hate that, a porta-pot, that makes it a little more than just a porta-pot sitting out in the middle of nowhere. And we could do that on a temporary basis for a year or two possibly. But again, I see this as a 2 or 3 year phased out project, not something that we're all gonna do in 2015 or even 16. So we have, in my opinion, a couple more years, and this would give us the opportunity to see if we put in these type of facilities, what is gonna be the demand? And if the demand is there, that we build a restroom and possibly a shelter restroom like we have over at Moon Valley Park, it may move it up a little bit on our priority list. Brian suggested that we don't do the ball fields. I respectfully disagree. I think those ball fields are something that needs to be done. We've set it up for a 4-year program, and I think we need to continue to pursue that, Brian, I really do. But that is something I guess we could talk about in the future.
Gonna have to.
So do we have a consensus?
Well, I doubt it. But I mean, if we're talking a couple years out, if you want something to start looking at for this next fiscal year, then park signage, obviously, everybody's on board with park signage, right? That's an easy one. The trail, everybody wanted the trail, right?
Right,
Okay. The fishing dock, yeah,
yes.
everybody was interested in that. Yeah, yeah. All right, then dog park, we're setting aside for now, right? We don't want to, but we will, because we'll at some point go to city council and ask for a whole bunch of money. Oh, none of them are here. They all left. Restroom and shelter, we're gonna set that aside for now.
Except for temporary setting.
We'll use something temporary.
The $90,000 permanent structure, we're gonna set aside for now. I mean, it's not something to look at for next year. We're not gonna do it next year, right? Okay, and then the natural play area is the next one.
I would support it. I mean,
Well, I mean, I think it'll eventually get there, but we're not next year, and maybe not the year after that. You know, I don't know if we necessarily need to set aside, I mean, we're talking CIP projects now that might be 2 years out. Does that make sense? And so we might have more funds by then. We say, just throw it in there, let's do it. But the top 3 we're looking at are the lake, the dock, and the signage.
Yes.
We're good with that? Is that enough? Think that should be enough to get you moving forward?
And the fishing dock, you want to wait on it?
No,
No, the dock, the lake, the dock, or the trail, the dock, and the signs.
and if you haven't spent enough money, we'll find another one.
I have a question. Steve, you had mentioned that a certain amount of that trail can be roughed in by staff, access to a dozer. Would that just be roughed? I know it's gonna be just roughed in, but you can at least lay the base or the outline for it with that in-house?
Possibilities, yeah.
Okay.
We do not have the machinery to do anything like that. It would definitely be a rental. I mean, so there still is gonna be money
Right.
coming out. We would have to, that would be a joint project with Public Works.
Okay.
So, but we can definitely look into that whenever we start getting in deeper.
Yeah, I'd like to add something else, because I think this park's gonna someday develop more than what we think it is, because Creekmore has no common area except what Creekmore has. Madison Valley has no common area community park. Closest park is what, Timber Trails, what little they have over by the school, and I'm not sure they have much. But that's gonna essentially be the only neighborhood park in that part of the city, or access to a park, not a neighborhood, but access to any park in the immediate area. I think when it takes off, it's gonna take off. We need to anticipate that.
Well, I don't doubt it. I mean, if we built a bunch of stuff, people will show up, but we only got $10, you know what I'm saying? We can't spend $1 million.
Oh, I mean,
Now,
yeah, we need to
if
be
that
sure.
development by the new interchange builds up, then yeah, we can do these bigger projects, but
Just gotta make sure we lay the seed.
I also don't want to build for the neighborhood that only the neighborhood would get used. I mean, if we build a children's natural play area, I don't know how big it's going to be. I don't know if people from all around the city are going to come there and do that. I can tell you right now, if we put a dog park in, it was the only amenity of that kind, everybody would come, right? But that goes away from our, let's keep it a passive park also, was part of that master plan, was to keep it more of a passive park, not an active park, and that's why we didn't talk about doing any athletic fields in there. We talked about an archery range and some other stuff that was more active participation, would bring more people there. And it was a passive park, you know, and the children's play area is generally passive, I guess.
I really wouldn't see ruling out the dog park down the line, because we'll get input from the citizens as this thing develops. We may find that there's pressure for that we're not even aware of. Because I said, I'm not sure the demographics of Creekmore. There's a lot of young families in there. You know, as you remember, that was one of the big controversies when Creekmore was developed, that they did not donate any land for a park except that trail, which we accepted that as their park donation. Madison Valley hasn't donated anything. So there's going to be a push for something in that park. The dog park's going to happen. It's a question of timing, I think.
Yep,
I don't want to leave the impression that we're just disregarding the dog park. It's a priority.
We're not. I won't let
Well,
us.
to the public. Yeah, to
Yeah,
the public.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
not forgetting it. We're not forgetting it.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Kennedy, was that enough direction for tonight?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, okay. Did you have something you want to say? Yes, ma'am.
As far as the dog park, city council was on board a while back with funds, but we couldn't get together on location. So I'm hoping once we have a better plan, city council will be on board again and this can be done and active.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item B, the Farmers Market Park Shelter request for proposal. Staff is requesting approval by us to develop and advertise for an RFP for the purchase and installation of a market shelter for the Farmers Market Park area. And if everybody saw the master plan, that was to cover a certain number of sites in the in as part of that Farmers Market master plan. Currently, in the budget, the city has $150,000 in there for this item, but they haven't gone through final approval yet. But staff wants approval to go ahead and get an RFP ready and together for that item. Okay, make sure I explain it right. You gonna make a motion? You got your finger on the trigger.
All right, I make a motion that we approve or have staff develop the specifications and put out an RFP for the purchase and installation of the market shelter in Farmers Market Park.
I second that.
All right, I have a first and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question for John. John, we had talked about that was just for what, phase one or phase 1 and phase 2 of the market area?
There's a phase 1A and a phase 1B.
B, okay.
And all of phase 1 includes the shelter, the entry plaza, off-street parking, on-park parking, all that area, that just basically that whole corner of the park
Okay.
for that amount of money.
My mind is going, you confused me with the alphabet, that's why.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Yeah,
We haven't voted on that motion.
I know. Any other questions? Nope. All in favor?
Okay.
Unanimous. Item C, this is the, tennis court renovations. This is for, to have, Mr. Kenny, can you explain the difference between an RFP and an RFQ? Because the heading has a RFP, but the body says request for qualifications.
I apologize. It should be request for proposal RFP.
Okay, an RFP, okay. And this is to repair recreation and memorial parks, which is crack filling, color coding of the surface. Estimated cost of the project is $63,000, which includes a 10% contingency fund. Part of this fund, it all comes from the park sales tax fund, but we did get a little bit back on that settlement that was reached with the original installer at Rec Park, which John told me, went back into the park sales tax fund. So staff is requesting approval for this RFP. You want to make a motion? Go ahead, that's you.
All right, I make a motion that we go ahead and the staff put out its RFP for the I lost my page. Thank you, computer. Thank you. All right. All right, we have, put a motion that, we have staff approve solicitation of an RFP for the renovation of the 4 tennis courts located at Recreation Park and the 2 tennis courts located at Memorial Park.
Second.
All right, I have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Okay, item D dovetails off that and is, that is a budget amendment to fund the project of $63,000 to complete the renovations of the tennis courts at Rec and Memorial Park. Funding comes from Park Sales Tax Fund. You gonna make a motion, Bill?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
I would like to add something to this.
Yes, sir.
Currently, there is funds in the 2014 CIP in the amount of $40,000 to provide for a security enclosure for the park maintenance facility. Okay, that money was put into that project with the thought that we would have a paved parking service area for the park maintenance facility. Public Works looked at the site, made a determination that it would take a lot more than what we had funding available to provide this parking and access area. So with that not happening, staff does not believe that we should go with the security enclosure at this time. So to cut to the chase here, what I'm saying is there will be $40,000 possibly available if the park board deems that they do not want to expense that money for a security enclosure at this time.
Is that 2 budget amendments then?
Well, it's all this funding is in the current CIP program, okay? And when we do a formal budget amendment before the council, we would probably like to include that as part of the funding source for this project.
So should we make a motion to defund the security enclosure? Or cancel that project? I mean, it was my understanding, once we made a CIP, it was designated to that. He said it's always there, and it'll carry until the project is done. So I assume to pull that money back, we need to cancel that project or make a budget amendment of that, right?
I think you're correct. Yeah, well,
Well, how about for this month? We'll figure that out for next month. This month, we'll go ahead and fund this, because we have money in the park sales tax for this.
correct.
Next month, we'll figure out, and we'll do it then. You okay with that?
Yeah, because at some point, we're going to develop this bid document, this RFP, and the RFP will go out, we'll get an amount, and then we'll have to take it before the park board for your approval, and then take it to the council. And when we take it to the council, there will be a budget amendment associated with that. So
Okay.
we do have time, sir.
Okay.
All right, I make a motion that we approve funding for to $63,000 for the renovations for the tennis courts in both Memorial Park and Rec Park.
Second.
All right, I have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, moving on to the end of the evening. Any board member comments this evening?
Well, welcome to the new board members.
Yes?
Sheldon.
Jenny? Welcome, welcome.
Gary Lynn is still mistreating me, though.
Is she?
She's my best friend.
All right, any other comments this evening? No? I would like to say, Eric, great job on the disc golf course. I heard from several people, and I think I've seen some comments on Facebook even, that seems to always be somebody out there playing, always. Now, I don't know if always really means like 8 o'clock every morning, but somebody is always seeing somebody out there, so that's a bigger deal. And I'll probably echo John's sentiment. I didn't expect that, to be quite honest. I expected it to kind of be a niche thing. It'd be kind of busy on the weekend mornings, maybe Saturday, Sunday morning, but apparently people are out there after work in the evening, so that's good. That's a good deal.
I just want to say, I mean, I've heard people coming in from Wichita, Iowa. I think those are the furthest I've heard so far, but all over Kansas City. So Liberty, Shawnee, everywhere. So.
And you keep in touch. Are they saying anything about the back nine? Are they excited to
Oh,
see it? Do they kind of see where it's going to be at?
I get asked the same question I asked Steve earlier. When are the tee pads getting poured? So that's why
Those are
we
getting
just-
poured soon, aren't they?
Yep. As soon as we
Yeah,
get to them.
yeah, for the front nine, the T-pads will be, as soon as the mowing and everything slows down a little bit, we'll be able to get out there and get them in, so.
Yeah,
just-
and once
little
things die back, we'll start on the back nine. It
Nice.
just takes time.
Good to hear.
But that's the way it goes, you know, you get the front nine, everybody gets excited about it, and then starts playing, and then they want the next.
They're anxious, yes.
for the-
Everybody
It's-
wants
It's
it
only
now,
been
don't
about
they?
a month,
They
right?
want it now.
So-
Yeah, wait till we build something in Hawk Ridge Park, then they'll want the rest all done. Any other comments this evening? Yes, sir.
Sorry, I don't know if any of us mentioned it earlier, but just wanted to remind everybody that the Raymore Festival is the weekend of September 20th, or the week of September, that week, 14th.
18th, 19th, and 20th.
Okay, starts on that Thursday, so 18, 19, 20. So hopefully you all take a little bit of time to come out there and check it out. I don't know if we have a booth. We don't have a booth, do we? Oh.
Speaking of that, we have registration for in 2-hour blocks. You know, I'm gonna be out there for a couple of organizations. Obviously, Parks and Recreation's one, and I encourage you to sign up for one of these if you would, please. For example, on Saturday, it's 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So, I mean, we're supposed to be there all the time, but I guess if we're not. Now, we may do this with the rest of the city, which would be PD and Public Works and Animal Control. We may do a combination booth is what I'm pushing for, but it's mainly to promote things like Hawk Ridge Park, the disc golf course. We could take one of our baskets out there, Eric, and have you seen one of these, you know, and let them
Yep.
throw at the basket and give away pencils, I don't know.
Pencils. We can come up with something better than that. Candy. Oh, yeah.
Foundation Frisbees, yeah. Okay, so anyway, if you could, I'd like to pass this around before you leave, and maybe if you could sign up for a couple hours, I would really appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It was the 18th, 19th, 20th, 18th, 19th, 20th. Okay. Anything else this evening before we adjourn? No? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
I second.
Ooh, a different second. I have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Meeting adjourned.